Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they aim too low. They settle for what's comfortable, familiar, and convenient. But deep inside, every person knows there is another version of themselves waiting to emerge, a stronger version, a wiser version, a more disciplined and fulfilled version. The question is not whether that version exists. The question is whether you are willing to become it. A new version of you begins with awareness. You start by taking an honest look at your life, not with guilt, not with excuses, but with clarity. Where are you today? What habits are shaping your future? What decisions are you repeating? Awareness is not judgment, it is information. And information, when used wisely, becomes the foundation of change. Once you see clearly, the next step is responsibility. The moment you accept that your life is largely the result of your choices, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for permission. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop hoping things will magically improve. Responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. Because if your choices created your current life, then better choices can create a better one. A new version of you is built through daily habits. Not dramatic changes, not overnight transformations, but small, consistent actions. Reading 10 pages a day, choosing discipline over distraction, making one healthy decision at a time. Success is not an event, it is a routine. And your routine, practiced long enough, becomes your reality. Your environment also plays a quiet but decisive role. You become like the people you spend time with, and you move in the direction of the information you consume. If you want to grow, you must protect your mind. Reduce exposure to negativity. Increase exposure to ideas that challenge and inspire you. Growth is rarely accidental. It is usually intentional. Discipline is where the new version of you truly takes shape. Discipline is choosing long-term respect over short-term pleasure. It is doing what needs to be done, even when motivation fades. Discipline is not punishment. It is proof that you believe your future is worth the effort. Understand this clearly. Growth will be uncomfortable. Improvement will stretch you. Change will demand that you let go of old patterns that no longer serve you. But discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are expanding. Every step forward requires leaving something behind. Finally, becoming a new version of you starts with a decision, not a wish, not a promise, a decision. Decide to read more, learn more, act more, and expect more from yourself. Life does not reward intentions, it rewards action. And when you decide to become more, life has no choice but to expand with you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be committed. Because 1 year from now, you will arrive somewhere. The only question is, will you arrive as the same person or as a new version of you? Change always begins with awareness, because nothing in life improves by accident. Most people move through their days on autopilot, repeating the same thoughts, habits, and reactions, yet hoping for a different outcome. Awareness interrupts that pattern. It is the moment you pause and take an honest look at where you are, how you got there, and what is truly shaping your life. Without awareness, effort is wasted, because you may work hard but in the wrong direction. Awareness is not about criticism or self-blame. It is about truth. When you look clearly at your current results, your health, your finances, your relationships, your mindset, you begin to see the connection between today's outcomes and yesterday's decisions. This realization can feel uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. The moment you recognize that your habits are producing your results, you gain the ability to change those results by changing the habits. Many people avoid awareness because it forces them to confront reality. It is easier to stay busy than to stay honest. It is easier to blame circumstances than to examine personal choices. But growth demands courage, and awareness is an act of courage. It takes strength to admit that certain patterns are holding you back, that some disciplines were neglected, and that some opportunities were missed not because of fate, but because of inaction. Awareness also sharpens direction. When you clearly understand what is not working, you can begin to define what should work instead. You stop guessing and start adjusting. You recognize which activities move you forward and which ones quietly steal your time and energy. This clarity turns effort into progress and motion into momentum. A new version of you cannot emerge from confusion. It emerges from clarity. Awareness helps you see the gap between who you are today and who you could become. That gap is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to guide you. It shows you exactly where growth is required and where focus should be placed. Once you see the gap, you can build a plan, establish discipline, and take intentional steps forward. Awareness also changes how you respond to setbacks. Instead of reacting emotionally, you begin to observe objectively. You ask better questions. What lesson is here? What adjustment is needed? What pattern must change? This mindset turns mistakes into teachers and challenges into training grounds. Every meaningful transformation starts with seeing clearly. Before goals are set, before habits are changed, before discipline is applied, awareness lays the foundation. It is the quiet moment of realization that says, this is where I am, this is why I am here, and this is where I must grow next. Personal responsibility is the moment life shifts from being something that happens to you into something you actively shape. The day you accept responsibility for your choices, your actions, and your responses, you step into your own power. Until then, progress remains limited because blaming circumstances may protect your comfort, but it robs you of control. Many people misunderstand responsibility as guilt or pressure, but true responsibility is freedom. When you recognize that your current situation is largely the result of past decisions, you also recognize that your future can be changed by better decisions starting now. This awareness removes the habit of waiting for motivation, waiting for opportunity, or waiting for someone else to fix what only you can address. Taking responsibility does not mean denying challenges or pretending obstacles do not exist. It means acknowledging that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Two people can face the same difficulty and end up in completely different places, not because of luck, but because of the choices they make in response to adversity. Personal responsibility strengthens discipline. When you stop explaining away poor results and start owning them, excuses lose their power. You no longer say you do not have time. You admit you did not make it a priority. You no longer say you lack opportunity. You recognize you failed to prepare. This honesty may sting at first, but it builds character, and character determines direction. Responsibility also sharpens focus. Instead of wasting energy on blame, you invest that energy into improvement. You ask, what can I do better today? Not who is at fault. This shift accelerates growth because solutions become more important than stories. Progress begins to replace frustration. A new version of you requires this level of ownership. Growth does not respond to wishes, it responds to commitment. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop negotiating with your potential and start demanding more from yourself. You read when you do not feel like it. You act when it would be easier to delay. You follow through because you understand that consistency, not intensity, builds lasting success. Responsibility also builds confidence. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-respect grows. You begin to trust your own word, and that trust becomes the foundation for greater goals and greater effort. The most powerful moment in personal growth is not when life becomes easier, but when you decide to become stronger, because from that point forward, your results are no longer accidental. They are intentional. Daily habits are the invisible force shaping your future, whether you are aware of them or not. Success and failure are rarely the result of one major decision. They are usually the result of small actions repeated over time. What you do consistently matters far more than what you do occasionally. Your habits quietly determine your direction long before the results become visible. Most people underestimate the power of small actions because they seem insignificant in the moment. Reading a few pages, exercising for 20 minutes, planning the day, or choosing a healthier option does not feel life-changing today. But habits compound. Just as money grows with interest, effort grows with consistency. Small disciplines practiced daily lead to massive long-term rewards, while small neglects repeated daily create equally massive consequences. Habits shape identity. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your routines. When you practice positive habits, You are not just improving skills, you are reinforcing the belief that you are the kind of person who follows through. Over time, actions become automatic, and progress becomes natural rather than forced. The challenge with habits is not starting, it is maintaining. Motivation comes and goes, but habits stay. That is why relying on feelings is unreliable. Structure beats enthusiasm every time. When a habit is built into your routine, it no longer requires constant decision making. It becomes part of who you are, not something you struggle to do daily. Habits also protect you during difficult seasons. When life becomes unpredictable, habits provide stability. They keep you moving forward even when circumstances are uncertain. A person with strong habits does not panic under pressure because progress is already built into their day. Changing habits requires patience and honesty. You must identify which habits are serving your future and which ones are stealing it. This is not about perfection, but direction. Replacing one unproductive habit with a better one can shift the course of your life. Improvement does not require a complete overhaul. It requires consistent upgrades. A new version of you is not created by sudden bursts of effort, but by daily commitment. Each day is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose discipline today, you are choosing freedom tomorrow. When you manage your habits, you manage your future. Because over time, what you repeatedly do becomes what you ultimately become. Your environment is one of the most powerful influences on your growth, yet it is often overlooked. People tend to focus on motivation and willpower, but environment quietly shapes behavior without asking for permission. What you see, hear, and experience daily either supports your progress or slows it down. Over time, you begin to think, act, and expect in ways that reflect what surrounds you. The people in your life have a particularly strong impact. Conversations influence beliefs, and beliefs influence decisions. When you spend time around individuals who complain, settle, or resist growth, that mindset can slowly feel normal. On the other hand, being around people who value discipline, learning, and responsibility raises your standards without a single lecture. Expectations rise simply by proximity. Information is also part of your environment. The books you read, the content you consume, and the messages you allow into your mind shape your outlook. Feeding your mind with negativity, distraction, or constant comparison weakens focus and confidence. Feeding it with ideas that challenge you to think bigger and act wiser strengthens direction and purpose. What you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes familiar, and what becomes familiar begins to feel acceptable. Your physical environment matters as well. A cluttered space often reflects a cluttered mind. Order creates clarity. When your surroundings are intentional, your actions become more intentional. Small adjustments, organizing your workspace, reducing distractions, setting up visual reminders of your goals can significantly improve your ability to concentrate and follow through. Environment does not determine destiny, but it does influence direction. That is why personal growth requires intentional choices about what you allow around you. You may not be able to control everything, but you can choose what you tolerate. Growth begins when you stop asking what is convenient and start asking what is constructive. A new version of you often requires new standards. This does not mean abandoning people or isolating yourself, but it does mean protecting your vision. You can be kind without being influenced. You can listen without absorbing every opinion. Mature growth means learning when to participate and when to step back. When you design your environment instead of drifting in it, progress accelerates. You spend less energy while resisting temptation and more energy building momentum. The path becomes clearer because distractions lose their grip. Over time, the right environment supports the right habits, reinforces the right beliefs, and strengthens the right identity, making growth not just possible, but sustainable. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, but in reality, it is an act of self-respect. It is the decision to do what needs to be done long after the excitement fades. While motivation depends on mood, discipline depends on values. When you practice discipline, you are telling yourself that your future matters more than your momentary comfort. Self-respect grows when you keep promises to yourself. Each disciplined action, no matter how small, strengthens your confidence. You begin to trust your own word. This trust becomes the foundation for greater challenges and higher goals. Without discipline, intentions remain ideas. With discipline, ideas turn into results. Discipline simplifies life. When you decide in advance what you will and will not do, you eliminate unnecessary negotiation with yourself. You no longer waste energy debating whether to act. The decision has already been made. This clarity reduces stress and increases focus, allowing progress to become consistent rather than sporadic. Many people avoid discipline because it feels uncomfortable in the short term. It asks you to wake up earlier, put in effort when no one is watching, and say no to distractions that offer immediate pleasure. But discipline always pays in the long term. What you do not discipline today will eventually discipline you tomorrow through regret, limitation, or missed opportunity. Discipline also builds resilience. When you commit to doing the work regardless of circumstances, you become stronger than your excuses. You learn to act even when conditions are not perfect. This ability is invaluable because life rarely provides ideal conditions. Those who rely on comfort wait. Those who rely on discipline move forward. A new version of you cannot be built on convenience. Growth requires structure. Discipline provides that structure by aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision. It keeps you on course when distractions attempt to pull you off path. It transforms effort into habit and habit into identity. The greatest reward of discipline is freedom. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from constantly reacting to life. When you discipline your time, your energy, and your focus, you gain control over your direction. In the end, discipline is not about being harsh with yourself, but about honoring your potential. It is the quiet, consistent choice to act in alignment with who you are becoming, because the life you want will always demand the discipline you are willing to give. Growth always requires discomfort because improvement demands change, and change disrupts familiarity. The moment you decide to grow, you step outside what is known and predictable. Comfort feels safe, but it is also where progress slows. Nothing new is built in ease alone. It is built where effort stretches you beyond what you have already mastered. Discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a signal that something is expanding. Muscles grow when they are challenged, not when they are relaxed. Character develops when it is tested, not when it is protected. Every meaningful improvement asks you to endure temporary unease in exchange for long-term gain. Many people avoid discomfort because they interpret it as failure or danger. They retreat at the first sign of difficulty, believing that growth should feel natural or effortless. But the truth is, learning a new skill, changing habits, or raising standards always feels awkward at first. The discomfort does not mean you are incapable. It means you are inexperienced. And inexperience is the starting point of mastery. Discomfort also forces clarity. When things are easy, you can drift without intention. When things are hard, you must decide what truly matters. Pressure reveals priorities. It shows you whether your commitment is real or convenient. This clarity strengthens resolve and sharpens focus, making your actions more deliberate. A new version of you requires letting go of an old one. That release is rarely comfortable. It may involve changing routines, distancing from certain influences, or abandoning beliefs that once felt safe. Familiar patterns may no longer serve your future, but releasing them still feels uncertain. Growth asks you to trust the process even when the outcome is not yet visible. Discomfort builds resilience. Each time you endure difficulty and continue forward, your capacity increases. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Confidence grows not from ease, but from repeated proof that you can handle challenge. Over time, discomfort loses its power to stop you. Those who grow understand this principle. They do not wait for comfort, they move with courage. They expect resistance and prepare for it. They understand that progress is rarely convenient, but always worthwhile. When you begin to see discomfort as a necessary investment rather than a threat, You stop running from growth and start embracing it, because every moment of challenge is shaping a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of you. Here you go, crafted to match the same tone, flow, and depth with no subheadings and a strong closing sentence. Growth always requires discomfort because improvement demands change, and change disrupts familiarity. The moment you decide to grow, you step outside what is known and predictable. Comfort feels safe, but it is also where progress slows. Nothing new is built in ease alone. It is built where effort stretches you beyond what you have already mastered. Discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a signal that something is expanding. Muscles grow when they are challenged, not when they are relaxed. Character develops when it is tested, not when it is protected. Every meaningful improvement asks you to endure temporary unease in exchange for long-term gain. Many people avoid discomfort because they interpret it as failure or danger. They retreat at the first sign of difficulty, believing that growth should feel natural or effortless. But learning a new skill, changing habits, or raising standards always feels awkward at first. That awkwardness does not mean you are incapable. It means you are in the process of becoming capable. Inexperience is not weakness. It is the beginning of mastery. Discomfort forces clarity. When life is easy, you can drift without intention. When things become challenging, you are required to choose what truly matters. Pressure exposes priorities. It reveals whether your commitment is genuine or merely convenient. This clarity strengthens resolve and refines focus, turning vague desire into decisive action. A new version of you cannot emerge without releasing the old one. That release is rarely comfortable. It may involve changing routines, distancing yourself from limiting influences, or letting go of beliefs that once felt safe. Familiar patterns may no longer serve your future, but abandoning them still feels uncertain. Growth asks you to trust what you are becoming more than what you have been. Discomfort also builds resilience. Each time you face difficulty and continue forward, your capacity expands. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Confidence grows not from ease, but from repeated proof that you can endure challenge and still move ahead. Over time, discomfort loses its ability to stop you. Those who grow do not wait for comfort to appear. They move with courage despite uncertainty. They understand that progress is rarely convenient, but always valuable, and that every uncomfortable step forward is shaping a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of who they are becoming.